Emanuel. He made me an original gangster futurist in Vanity Fair. He introduced me to Jules Urbach of Otoy Corporation. He brought me into Hollywood and got me contemplating the future of media. I met him 3 decades ago when he read Life After Television, and he called me to speak to his agents just before he let them off into the wilderness to form Endeavor. And since then, he's become the paramount figure in Hollywood, and Hollywood is one of the triad between Silicon Valley, Hollywood, and Seattle, and so it's crucial that we get this view of the future of media and where Hollywood's going to take us next. What will Hollywood's role be in the metaverse, Ari? What did you see in the early 90s that led you to leave your comfortable position as a leading agent and move out and create a new force, Endeavor?
Well, I would say, reading your book and thinking about the business, kind of the one theme that I got that still holds true, kind of even going into where the metaverse is or tokens will be, and is that distribution was going to expand, and the asset class in Hollywood has always been distribution, and that was going to shift to brands and content, and we're now not even close to where I think it's going, especially with where technology is going, and as you talked about in the book early on about cloud computing, et cetera. I think it's even going to shift even more to stars and brands holding even more power in distribution, like Netflix. And we've talked about this when 6 Wi-Fi comes into play. You're going to have, the underlying theme of social, which is, I think, crucial in this passage, is going to enable brands like Dwayne Johnson or the UFC, other brands actually hold all the power and be able to create content on their own, not needing going through places like Netflix or Amazon or Apple. They'll be able to go direct.
Yeah, so this is a decentralizing
correct. And I think, what I've tried to construct over the last 26 years is the ability to handle that transformation for brands and stars and et cetera, to be able to own their whole kind of distribution system and the value chain throughout it, whether that be licensing, whether that be original content, old content. And that's my thesis.
Yeah.
And so far, so good.
Yep.
I could screw it up, but that's the thesis that I think we're at.
Yeah. And so this is a decentralizing thesis, isn't it?
Correct.
It's that the power migrates to individual celebrities, individual creators, individual.
Right. Well, we saw it in the 90s. There was 4 networks going to 6. There was 3 cable channels.
Yeah.
Right. Who would have thought 15 years ago food would have been an entertainment product? Right. Yeah. And we're just now expanding, sports. It just keeps on expanding. And now, with the likes of Netflix and Apple and YouTube, there's more and more kind of creators out there, and it's all becoming very, very decentralized, and you can't kind of put your arms around it. One of the things that is also true is, who would have thought that the most valuable probably company or car company in the world, if he'd probably be pissed at me, Elon, would have no advertising, all through social, through Elon Social. Who would have thought?
So how does this work?
Who would have thought the probably the most valuable artist in the world would become that through his social channel, Beeple, And, he just sold a piece, I think, in
In other words, Elon's social channel is what's propelling
Beeple's
Tesla,
social channel.
Oh, and
Yeah, he just sold a piece at Sotheby's for $25 million yesterday.
Beeple did.
Yes.
Another piece.
Yeah, all through their social channels, not through any advertising, which was the former form of communication and marketing. And so when you have this underlying theme and ability through social, and then you have expanded distribution, it enables a decentralized system to really take shape. And I think we're kind of in the hockey stick moment.
Well, so you introduced me to Otoy and Jules Erbach. Really, Jules before Otoy and induced me to raise money for Otoy.
Right.
And what did you see in Jules way back then? How tell us about your relationship with Jules, who's going to be here soon.
Right.
And
well, I'd say the following. When I first met Jules,
you were an agent. What was Jules's role in your world? And
I won't go into the story how I met him.
Yeah.
But I'll just say when I saw his technology, I realized where production could go, and his tool set, Octane Render, I think could kind of take a significant amount of costs out of productions, and that was my initial interest in him and his technology. Post that, I realized he had a more complicated and more deep understanding of where the kind of whole systems were going to come together between GPUs, production, tokens, et cetera, and how the whole system would kind of come together. And so I've just been along for the ride. And I think he gave a couple speeches yesterday and white papers. I think he's on the verge of some really incredible stuff right now.
So what was the role of Lightstage in this whole process?
Well,
Does Lightstage still have a future?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's going to enable a lot.
We should describe what Lightstage is.
Well, it's a system where, like in the Matrix, where you saw the bullet shot, it kind of captures all of it, and then you could put it in a digital form. And whether that be with people or with images and then be able to manipulate them inside his technology. And so that is actually going to become, I think, the standard. A lot of actors are now putting themselves in it. And
they're actually getting their
whole image right.
Integrated in a digital form that can be preserved and changed and then
preserved for whatever.
Benjamin Button reduced to infancy and on to old age.
And Jules will go over all the things that he's done in Hollywood right now. But that then I think enables actors to quote unquote go into whatever the matrix becomes and going into what we said, own their own image and likeness into the future, and as actors not age, continue on in the world for a long, long time and have primary and secondary market value in kind of wherever this matrix goes. And I think there's probably pretty good value there.
Yeah. So what's the future of theater? The title, we say not showing at a theater near you, but I discovered that this morning my daughter Nanina, who's a screenwriter, by the way.
I knew this was going to be a signing meeting.
Told me that the movie being shown at a theater right across the street is High Society, which was my favorite movie of all time. I think it has an argument to be the best musical film ever made, and it's across the street. It's 7:00. You could all go to see High Society, which really it's got Louis Armstrong and Grace Kelly. It's got it first inebriated me with Grace Kelly, and
So here's my sense of where the movie business is going. First of all, I don't think you can draw a conclusion in the middle of a pandemic of where that. As I've said in a couple other conversations with people, the movie business is about a $9 billion business for the entertainment business in Southern California. Even if you diminish that a little bit because of the pandemic and the rise of the Netflix of the world, let's just say it's a $7 billion business. I don't think anybody's giving up $7 billion so quickly. The other thing I said is the minute, and this is just an intuition, so of course I can be wrong. The minute people are comfortable sharing an armrest in a theater, the movie business will be back. And take the current bad movie from Disney and the Marvel universe out of the mix. If you just look at the movies before that, they've been bigger than they've ever been. I think people are going to want to get out. And these are all my instincts, but just looking at the numbers on a global basis, people want to go and they want to be with each other. Will that last past the post-pandemic period, whenever we get to post-pandemic? I'm not sure. But I don't think it's going to zero. I mean, I think people are still getting to the internet through AOL. Not a lot anymore, but they're still doing that. They still have Yahoo accounts and et cetera.
But at the same time, you're developing all these new essential theatrical content, which the fighting UFC and all that is really a new form of theater, isn't it?
Well,
that people want to attend directly, but they also attend in theaters. I mean,
the one thing that is true, because there's day and dates, I don't believe that they encroach on each other. So there's a certain audience that will want to go to a theater, and there's a certain group of people that will want to watch it at home. And especially with the growth of in-home theater and how how great it is right now with certain members of the population. So I don't think they diminish the economics. And there's some movies that have been day and date, and they haven't. The box office has been great, and also the home economics have been great. So that's a distribution issue. And as I said to you, I think distribution is a commodity, and awareness and brands are kind of what the asset. And our business is to collect more brands that we think are valuable.
But AI is distribution, and the human content is really what animates it and makes it significant.
Yeah.
And why'd you buy William Morris?
Well, I didn't buy it. I quote unquote merged with it, and then whatever, I took it over in the negotiation beforehand. But that was in 2008 at the height of the economic crisis. That was a difficult time. And then from 2008 till now has been the kind of adding on to the theme of what we're doing.
How do you integrate William Morris with all your...
Well, I say to everybody going to the original thesis that we talked about, that it's the kind of seed asset across the platform. One of the interesting things coming out of the
books,
from books to lectures to theater to movies to music, et cetera. And when you think about it, we have this new business called Talent Ventures that we started. Brands now, because they can't there's no value in a 30-second commercial, except or maybe on the Super Bowl and the Oscars, are backing movie stars and musicians to promote and using their social channels to promote their brands. And the Aviation Gin's one of that they brought in Ryan Reynolds as a partner. They built it up and sold it 18 months later for a huge profit. That is happening now from a nascent business a year and a half ago to it's an exploding business right now. And that uses the platform of marketing, licensing, all the things we do. And that's just an indication of what I said earlier, that those people through their social channels like Elon, like Beeples, et cetera, can build brands and kind of supersede what distribution is. And so That's kind of how we look at William Morris and that engine to utilize it across our platform.
So these, what does this mean for the position of Google? I wrote a book called Life After Google. Google is 90 to 95% of its revenues come from advertising. Similarly with Facebook, all these companies are based on an advertising model. You see a kind of eclipse of the old advertising model.
I see an eclipse. Listen, I don't believe that the linear business, again, like we said, the movie business, it might diminish by 25 to 30%. I think the linear television business will, over time, in the United States and globally, diminish, I say by, I'm not sure I'm right, my numbers, by about 50% from where it currently stands. I don't know where advertisers go. And from the time I was in the business, like 26 years ago, even though ratings have been coming down in television, advertising revenues have been going up.
Is that right?
For 26 years.
What explains that?
Stupidity.
Stupidity
it's the only place to get to broadcast to a large audience, even though that is diminishing. And it's more true now. The ad market in the United States on network television and cable is sold out for the last quarter. You can't get a spot market. It's sold out. The Super Bowl used to be $3 million. It's going for $6.7 million a 30-second spot. They're selling into next year. It's kind of incredible right now. Now, how long that continues, I don't know. But it has been, since I've been in the business, a trend that ratings have come down and ad revenues have gone up.
Amazing paradox.
It's very hard to explain. But so there's now a flood of money into the YouTubes of the world and to the Facebooks of the world, mainly YouTube right? And Hulu and Peacock, because they're ad supported also. Those CPMs are real. Those ad rates are going up because it's a place where people can put it. Because it's very hard to find audience because it's so spread out right now. So I don't think the ad model's going away also. But we're definitely in the beginnings of the decentralized media market, and very hard to navigate.
So China, do you have operations in China, or what are you doing what do you think of the current mood and situation with China?
Well, here's a great thing.
Does it completely incapacitate you in China, or are you still making progress? Or
well, I have a brother in politics, so I don't talk about politics. He talks about politics.
With a view,
right? Exactly. So we have a ton of business in China. Actually, one of our golf tournaments, because of what's going on with COVID, just got canceled there. We have the UFC has a performance institute in Shanghai. We have we sell tons of sports rights into China, from Wimbledon to one of the biggest sports there is snooker. We sell it. We do a lot of business there, and we do a lot of events there. And
it's not declining.
Not all. I mean, COVID has disrupted and not disrupted certain things. As I just said, we had a golf tournament cancel, but it's a big and growing business in the media space. A lot of it becoming local. And I think a bigger issue
what do you mean it becomes local?
Movies and television, local production of Chinese entertainment. They're getting very good at that business right now.
Do they have content, these movies they're making in China?
Oh yeah. So just for their market. Harder and harder for American product to get in there because there's a lot of back and forth on that. And
politics.
There's politics in that situation, but it's a very vibrant media business, both in sports and in entertainment.
So you've recently gone public.
Yeah.
And what was that experience? You had ups and downs in the process, but you triumphed.
Right.
And how has it changed your business? What's your sense of how the IPO system works today? Is it?
I want to ask you a question about that, because at one point you came and spoke about life after Google, and you talked about, and we were talking about Bitcoin and tokens and et cetera. And you said that there's less companies going public in the United States. It seems now
more are going public.
More are going public than ever. It was at the first go around a nightmare. WeWorks and Peloton, I think killed us. I didn't think our
WeWorks and Peloton were trying to go public.
Peloton went public, but had a very bad opening. WeWorks fell on its face at that point, and then went out with a SPAC later, like we did. We didn't go out on a SPAC. Do you think it's good what's going on as it relates to the public markets now with so many companies going public? Because it seems like there's more than ever.
I think it's definitely positive. I think the SPAC, the special purpose acquisition company, has revitalized the whole process of going public, and I think it's an exciting time from that point of view. It's one of the positive dimensions of our current.
Right. I mean, one of the things we did, because we failed our first time, and I think our structure, owning half of the UFC and a bunch of other things, caused us not to be successful. And what I did to combat that is I raised in a private round over $1.8 billion so that nobody could screw around. And I had to raise a very simple amount of money in the public markets. And I wasn't going to listen to anybody else to kind of say what, to go out and do a big raise. So took care of what I needed to take care of. In February 14th, I was back in the office in the height of COVID. And I worked throughout that to raise the money. And then we went public. So about 6 months ago.
And has it changed your company a lot? I mean,
I think everybody in the company, all the employees that have stock, probably look at the stock price every 5 seconds, right? And it does create, in addition to many other things, COVID being one of them, and the former president being another, it does change the culture of the company, sometimes for the positive. And as I just said, sometimes if the stock is getting shorted for the negative. So
we can have questions, by the way. Anybody who's wants to, I guess.
We'll take questions, right there. Ari, I was going to joke when you sat down and you said I was wondering what I was going to talk about. Whenever George asked this question, what am I supposed to tell them, George? His answer is, tell them to talk about whatever they want to talk about.
One of the things I was going to say with Peter about video games, and you asked the question, is that, are we in a big video game? The new Matrix movie takes the view that the first two Matrix movies were a video game. And that I can't say, because I know it's our clients that directed it, that, the current movie is the real movie and they were just a video. I mean, it's very interesting. I don't know, I have not seen the movie, but everybody is saying that it's very, very good.
Very good. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Richard Vigilante with Three Founders. We watch a ton of streaming services at home. We're being proliferated with more and more choices of streaming services. What will be the determinants of successful competition among the streaming services? So obviously we can't subscribe to 40 of them, and we get a little pricey. So who's going to win and why?
Well, I don't know what your definition of winning is. Right now, the street is, I think Netflix is losing about $2.5 billion, $3 billion a year. I think what's their market cap? 400 billion?
I don't know.
So it's pretty big. Disney is on their streaming side. When Bob Chapek came in, I think their stock price was $70. I think it's $177 now. They're losing a couple $1 billion on their streaming service. The market cap, because of streaming, is over $200 billion. I think you now have 6.
Who are you talking about now with all the,
Oh, well, you're talking about Amazon, Apple, Netflix,
I see.
Disney, Warner / very soon.
I mean, just
Yes,
among the few obvious top ones, Netflix,
there's 6 big ones.
Who's doing what you think is a better job, and why is it better?
Well, there's a famous phrase in the entertainment business from the agent side of the business when I put my agent hat on. Please don't quote me on this one. I don't smell them, I just sell them. At the end of the day, I don't have the same taste as you. I'm watching Gomorrah right now. I just watched from China. That was an Italian show. I'm watching my Mister, a South Korean show. I just watched the Hemingway doc by Ken Burns and the Ali doc. So I actually think it's great because I'm able to see so many things that I would have never watched before. And this is on HBO, this is on Netflix, this is on PBS. So I actually like the variety. I don't believe when somebody says there's nothing to watch, I don't believe that's true. Because every time I go out to dinner, somebody's telling me a new show that I have to put into the queue. I just got one from Mark Andreessen, a new show that he just saw it's right after my 3 seasons of Gomorrah I'm going to watch. I think it's better than it's ever been. And I think all 6 are going to succeed. One, mainly because I think you're probably going to be at 500 million subs or 600 million subs between Netflix, Warner Brothers, and Disney alone. All have different reasons to be in the business. Apple's selling now a subscription service. Amazon wants you to come into Prime. Disney's a pure play, plus Warner Brothers is a pure play. Peacock is an advertising play. So I think they're all in it for multiple reasons. As a consumer, I think you're in the best place you could possibly be. And I think there's just going to be more and more content. And if the street is giving them the value proposition because of it, and the subs have to go up, that's actually good for me. That's what I do. I do care about that because I'm one of 2 suppliers on the talent side of the business and on the sports side of the business. I'm one of one. So
How are you one of one on the sports?
we're a bunch of major sports. Not that there's not smaller players. There are many multiple at the high end of the business. We're the largest sports representative. We have 150 sports that we represent globally. There's not a lot of people close to us in that place. So.
We have time for one final short question, if you can be brief.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve. And this is like my favorite conversation because we're talking about capital markets, which is very fun. So let's see, you commented on the Warner Media Discovery merger, okay? And you got at the idea of decentralization. I think of like Chip and Joanna Gaines, very decentralized, cult classic following in America, etc. My question is that kind of the model you're thinking about where it's social? They have other businesses tethered off that. It is tying back to the content they're creating on these mainstream arenas. And then the other part I'd love you to pair that against is music, oddly, has stayed incredibly centralized. In other words, Warner...
That's not true, actually.
Well,
Music, there's more independent labels right now. And actually, because of NFTs and tokens, more artists are going direct and selling their
Well,
music.
and Spotify's trying to do that, right? Spotify's promoting that in a big way.
A lot of our, because we do 36,000 tours. A lot of them are now starting. Now, the 3 majors are giving huge upfront cash for the big guys. The smaller independents, one, it's very cheap to make a record, and they're going and they're selling their music with NFTs and playing and doing all these different things. So the music business is a whole nother level, kind of, and they've always been at the forefront of where traditional content is. The reason it's easier on music, it's very cheap now to make music in your home because of the tools. The movie business is different in that the high-end movie business costs $150, $200 million to make those movies. Hopefully with Jules' technology, it comes down. So that is a different conversation as it relates to that.
Sure.
If you need me to comment on Warner Brothers Discovery.
I was just going to say on that, because like you're pairing together a movie business, you're pairing big dramas with HBO, you got sports now in the mix. From a platform wide, they kind of have every bucket in a way that no one necessarily has, and it came out of, like you said, the decentralized reality television, which is kind of the biggest decentralization in TV. So I'd love to hear your kind of thoughts on what Zaslav is putting together there.
Well, I mean, if you nuts and bolts, AT&T needed the cash to build out their 5G. They didn't have the cash. When I think he's going to go down as making one of the greatest deals of all time. Warner Brothers has 71 million subs. Discovery has, I think it's 20 million subs, all average price about $15. When you look at Disney, they have 74 million subs. The Indian portion is paying 59 cents. The 79 is paying, I think it's $6.99. You're going to look at the Discovery deal that is going to be at 90 to 100 million subs, and people are going to realize they're one of the big players. And Discovery, unlike the HBO Max situation, is global. So he's going to immediately go to global in that conversation, and it's going to be one of the great deals of all time. He's an incredible executive. So is Bob. Bob Chapek. He took a company in the middle of a pandemic from 70 to 170. You can't argue how great he's done in a very tough time. And by the second half of the year of 2022, he's going to have so much content coming out. But the Time Warner deal, he's going to be at 100 million subs, and he's going to be global. And then you pair in his sports business, one on TNT and one on Eurosport. He destroyed that deal. He killed it. Made one of the best deals in the history of our entertainment business.
We're going to close with that. Ari, you've come all the way from Los Angeles just for this session. It means the world to me.
No
Thank
problem.
you so
Anything for
much.
George.
Yeah.